Right now, 93 million miles away, a ball of plasma is burning 400 million tons of hydrogen every single second. You never think about it. It rises, it sets, it's just there. But what if it wasn't? Not forever. Not for a year. What if the sun simply vanished for just one single second and then came back? 1 second. You'd barely have time to blink. Surely nothing happens, right? Well, it turns out that one missing second would be the strangest second in human history, and some of the consequences might not be what you expect. Let's break it down. Here's the twist that surprises everyone. If the sun disappeared right now, you wouldn't know. Light doesn't travel instantly. It moves at about 300,000 kilometers per second. Fast, but not infinite. Sunlight takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds to reach Earth. So the light hitting your face right now, it left the sun over 8 minutes ago. You are never seeing the sun as it is. You're seeing the sun as it was. Which means if the sun blinked out for 1 second, the gap in sunlight would take 8 minutes to arrive. The sun would already be back, shining normally, while its 1 second shadow was still traveling toward us through space. And gravity works exactly the same way. Einstein showed that changes in gravity also travel at the speed of light, so Earth wouldn't feel the missing sun instantly either. For 8 minutes, we'd keep orbiting a sun that, for 1 second, wasn't there. Then, 8 minutes and 20 seconds later, it arrives. For everyone on the daytime side of Earth, the sky doesn't dim like a sunset. It switches off, instantly, like someone flipped a breaker for the entire planet, and this darkness would be darker than any night you've ever seen. Here's why. A normal night isn't actually dark. The moon glows with reflected sunlight. Even the planets, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, shine with borrowed light from the sun. With the sun gone, the moon vanishes from the sky too. So do the planets. The only lights left are the distant stars and our own cities. For 1 second, half of humanity would see the Milky Way appear in the middle of the day. Billions of stars suddenly visible above office buildings and traffic jams. Honestly, it might be the most beautiful thing anyone has ever seen. And then there's the other effect, the one you'd feel. During that second, Earth would stop curving around its orbit and travel in a perfectly straight line. Newton's first law, no force, no turn. But here's the thing, 1 second of straight line travel barely matters. Earth moves about 30 kilometers per second along its orbit. Drifting 30 kilometers off course sounds scary, but our orbit shifts more than that from the gentle tugging of other planets. When the sun returns, Earth settles back into a nearly identical orbit. No apocalypse, not yet. So we survive. But survive doesn't mean unaffected, because a few systems on Earth would genuinely lose their minds. First, anything that depends on the sun's light for navigation. Believe it or not, that includes machines. Some satellites orient themselves using sun sensors, small instruments that lock onto the sun's position. A 1 second dropout would trigger error modes on spacecraft across the solar system. Second, photosynthesis would pause planet-wide. Every plant, every algae bloom in the ocean, the entire engine that produces the oxygen you're breathing, would stop for 1 second. The good news? Plants deal with clouds all the time. 1 second of darkness costs the biosphere basically nothing. Third, and this is the eerie one, the temperature. You'd expect a cold snap, but air holds heat incredibly well. In 1 second, the surface would cool by such a tiny fraction of a degree that no thermometer on Earth could detect it. The warmth on your skin would flicker, like a cloud passing, and return. The real chaos wouldn't be physical at all. It would be us. Every camera on the daylight side records the sky turning off like a light switch. Planes mid-flight, stadiums mid-game, 8 billion phones. Imagine the internet in the hour that follows. Scientists would be the most terrified people on Earth, because a star cannot do that. Stars don't pause. Physics as we know it has no off switch for the sun. That second would break every model of the universe we have. Of course, 1 second is a warning shot. What if the sun stayed gone? After 1 week without the sun, the global average surface temperature would fall below freezing. Crops die first. Then the surface of lakes and seas begins to harden. After 1 year, It would plunge to around minus 70 degrees Celsius. The oceans would freeze over, but only at the top. Ice floats, and it insulates. Beneath kilometers of ice, liquid water would survive for billions of years, kept warm by heat leaking from Earth's core. And that's where life would hold on. Around deep-sea volcanic vents, entire ecosystems already live in total darkness, feeding on chemicals instead of sunlight. They wouldn't even notice the sun was gone. Meanwhile, Earth itself, no longer held by the sun's gravity, would sail off in a straight line at 30 kilometers per second. A frozen arc, drifting between the stars, with the survivors of Earth sealed beneath the ice. It's strangely comforting, isn't it? Even in the worst scenario imaginable, life finds a basement to hide in. But back to our 1 second. Here's the part I can't stop thinking about. When that second of darkness finally reached Earth, 8 minutes late, the sun would already be shining again. We would be seeing a gap in light from a sun that had already returned, a ghost of an event that was already over. That's true of everything in the night sky. Every star you see is old light. Some of those stars may already be gone, and we won't know for centuries. The universe doesn't show you the present. It shows you the past, arriving constantly at the speed of light. So the next time you feel the sun on your face, remember, that warmth is 8 minutes old. It crossed 93 million miles of empty space just to reach you. If this video made you see the sky a little differently, subscribe, because next time we're asking what happens if the Earth stops spinning. And that one does not end as peacefully. Thanks for watching.